Ahaziah did not have a wife. She had so much control over her son, this Queen Athaliah, that she persuaded him, says the Bible, to sin against the Lord. God had delivered Israel out of the hands of that demonic duo, Ahab and Jezebel. And King Ahaziah becomes king. He rules. He doesn't have a wife, so his mother, Athaliah, holds on to power as queen. She encourages her son, King Ahaziah, to hire on his staff the children of Ahab and Jezebel. He hires them against the will of God, puts them on his staff, and uses them as advisors. These people advised King Ahaziah to do some things that were against the will of God. Therefore, they go into war, and King Ahaziah is killed. When Athaliah finds out that her son is dead, she doesn't grieve for her son. She's only concerned about herself. She's only concerned about her power. She understands that if her son is dead, then she's no longer the queen. She no longer holds on to her power, her prestige, her privilege, her popularity, her power as queen. She panics. And the first thing she does is goes after those young men in the kingdom who have a rightful place to the throne. The throne was to be given to one of the sons of David, somebody in the bloodline of David. And so before any of these young men can ascend to the throne, she started killing them off so that she can hold on to her power. But thank God for Aunt Jehoshaphat. Aunt Jehoshaphat recognized what was going on in the kingdom and knew she had a nephew named Joash, who was the rightful heir to the throne. She takes Joash, and the Bible says she hides him in her bedroom, in a bedroom, and tells her husband, Jehoshaphat, Jehoiada, who was the pastor of the temple. Pastor of the temple takes this young king and hides him in the temple for 6 years. Then he forms an elaborate youth ministry to surround this king and to develop this king and to minister unto this king and to protect this young king from the onslaught of Athaliah. The Bible said in the 7th year of the reign of Queen Athaliah, they brought Joash out. And they put the crown on his head and made him king of Israel. When Athaliah found out what was going on, she rushes to the scene and she sees the trumpeter. She sees him being enthroned as king. She begins to shout, "Treason, treason, you guys are traitors. I'm the real authority here." The preacher said, "Go get her because we don't want to kill her in the temple. We want to kill her somewhere else." So they bring her down and put her to death, and King Joash begins to reign. And as I look at this story, as I studied this story, read this passage afresh, in light of all that's going on in our community, I've discovered, my brothers and sisters, that this mirrors what's been happening in our community over the last couple of months. That there are black men who are in peril. That there are black men who this society mentality have been shaped to be afraid of black men. So when I look at this passage, the first thing I see is that she delivers him from peril. Joash was in trouble. Joash was in peril. Joash was living in a perilous situation. Joash's life was in jeopardy, not because he did anything wrong, but because he had the royal blood in his veins. They knew that the throne belonged to Joash and a descendant of David. And so this woman went out strategically and systematically knocking off all of the children who had the same blood in them as Joash. Joash was in peril. Joash had some real issues that he had to deal with. Everybody who looked like Joash was in trouble. Everybody who looked like Joash had a problem. Everybody who dressed like him, who talked like him, who even walked down the streets with hoodies like him was in trouble. And these boys in the kingdom were dying not accidentally or coincidentally. They were being systematically and strategically knocked off. And when I see our community, it reflects so vividly what's been going on in our community. It is no accident, it's no coincidence that black men are 5 times more likely to die a violent death than their white counterpart. This is no accident, this is no coincidence that black men commit 16% of the crimes but represent 58% of the prison population. This is no accident that black men are more likely to drop out of high school, that black men are more likely to be unemployed, that black men are dying at a faster rate than everybody else in the American society. And the reason we are picked out to be picked on is because they found out that we got royal blood in our veins and we are on our way to claim what God has for us. And they're trying to shut us down before we get there. Go to the average school, public school, and find out who gets kicked out of school the most. Black boys. Go to the average school and ask who scores the lowest on standardized tests. It's black boys. Go downtown and ask who is most likely to get turned down for a small business loan. It's black boys. Go to the SBA and find out who is less likely to start a business. It's black men. Brother, you have been targeted because of the greatness that's in you and for no other reason. And so this society has created an environment that's hostile to black kids and to black men, rather, and everyone is intimidated when a black man walks into the room. Everybody is intimidated, especially and even other black men. My brothers and sisters, this society mentality has been shaped to be afraid of black men, because every time they show you on television, they're showing you doing something wrong. Every time they show you in the media, you are acting a fool. Everybody acts a fool sometimes, black, white, Latino, and others. But they want to pick you out and show you to shape the societal impression of who they think you ought to be and to create fear among people of black men. But see, they have a love-hate relationship with us. They love us and they're afraid of us at the same time. They admire us, but they hate us at the same time. I mean, they love LeBron James. They will pack out a stadium to see LeBron James do his thing. They'll even walk around the city with a LeBron James jersey and LeBron James' name on the back of the jersey. They love LeBron James as long as he's on the basketball court. But if LeBron is walking down the street with a hoodie, minding his own business with some Skittles and an iced tea, then he is suspect. Then somebody think that he ought to be shut down. Oh, they love Jay-Z. They will pack out an auditorium to hear Jay-Z. They'll pay $200 for a ticket to sit there and listen to Jay-Z. They'll dance off his music. They'll buy his records. They'll buy his albums. And they love him on stage. But don't let the brother get off stage and walk down the street. The first thing they'll do is assume that the brother has done something wrong, that he's robbed somebody, that he has stolen from somebody. Oh, they'll go to P. Diddy's party and they'll dance and get drunk and have a fine time. But if they see P. Diddy walking down the street, the first thing they want to do is say that he stole something, he's a criminal, he's up to no good, and the first thing they want to do is pull a gun and try to blow his brains out. Oh, they like President Obama. His personal approval ratings are at an all-time high, but his presidential ratings are at an all-time low. Oh, they like the black man. He's a nice man, but they don't think that he's supposed to be president. How in the hell did this black man become the president of the United States of America? How did we let that happen? Oh, they love you, but they hate you at the same time. And that's why George Zimmerman thought that he had to kill Trayvon Martin, because he was so intimidated by this young brother's presence. He wasn't doing
doing nothing but walking down the street like 17-year-old kids do with his cell phone, talking to his girlfriend with a bag of Skittles and some lemon and some iced tea, walking down the street. And here this George Zimmerman sees this man and calls 911 like he did 40-something times. Every time he sees a black man, he thinks he's supposed to call the police as if he spotted an alien or something like that, as if he spotted somebody who ain't supposed to be. But his daddy lived in the same neighborhood. What's wrong with him walking from his daddy's house talking to his girlfriend? He calls the police. You know the story. And he stalks the young man. And as he's calling the police, the dispatcher tells the man, leave him alone, we got it. He mumbles under his breath the word effing cool, and he goes after this young man who was minding his own business, wasn't bothering nobody, hunts him down like he's going deer hunting or something, takes out his gun and kills the young man. The police show up, and here George Zimmerman, they don't ask him one question, they don't frisk him, they don't check him, they don't give him a drug test, they don't give him an alcohol test. And here is Trayvon laying on the ground, an African-American kid, an all-American boy, an all-age student in school, plays for the football team, the basketball team, a fun-loving kid, never gave his mama one day of trouble. He's lying there on the ground dead. They do a blood test on him. They check to see if he's got alcohol. They check to see if he's full of drugs. And they take his body down to the morgue, and they lay it on a slab, and they leave him there for 3 days without even notifying his mother and father. They are worried sick about their son. That shows you how we devalue black life in America. There is something wrong with that. And then Trayvon was a white boy. George Zimmerman would have been killed under the prison. Oh yeah, they are intimidated. And they use us, lock us up in prison, because it costs more to incarcerate a black man than it does to send that black man to Harvard University. It costs about $45,000 to incarcerate a person. It costs $34,000 to attend Harvard University. But let me ask you something. Why are you so excited, and why are you so willingly to lock up a black man, but when that poor kid goes to you and tries to get a loan so he can go to Harvard University, you would turn him down. You would give them money to lock him up, but you won't give him money to go educate himself. Something is wrong in our society. Something is not right. Then that black man gets out of jail, and then he carries around over his head for the next 9 or 10 or 12 years the offense that he has already committed. He is going to jail. He may have been wrong, but he paid his debt to society. Why you got to have that thing following him all around to prevent him from getting a decent job? That's why the recidivism rate is so high. They can't find a job. They can't find meaningful employment, so they go back into the life that they had just come out of, and they're locked up again. And I want you to know that these prisons are not owned by the state. They are owned by individuals. They are owned by companies. They are owned by rich people who make money and get rich off of putting your boys in jail. They get $45,000 per year for each boy that they lock up. Something is not right. Fox News talked about it's just as much Trayvon's fault as it was Zimmerman's fault, because Trayvon shouldn't have been walking with a hood covering his head. Now you tell me, when did it become a capital offense to wear a hoodie and walk down the street and talk to your girlfriend? Since when? And if it is a capital offense, somebody needs to go arrest the CEO of the company that made the hoodie, because he gave Trayvon something that was hazardous to his health. You want to arrest somebody because of that? Go arrest him.